What's up, everybody? I know I've been gone for a while, but we're gonna jump back into it. I got buzzing fluorescent lights, so that's gonna be a little annoying. Today, we're gonna do an oil change. It's finally like 50 degrees out, which is warm enough for me to be out here changing oil. First thing you want to do when you go to do an oil change is make sure your bike is off. That's key. Number one, make sure the bike's turned off. Number two, you're going to want to locate a couple of things. Your oil fill, which on my bike is on the right side right here. It's going to have a little dipstick in it. And your oil filter, which on this one is underneath everything. Right there. You're also going to need to find the oil drain plug, which is on the left side of this bike, underneath the engine, up in there. Once you've located everything, you can go ahead and gather your materials. You're going to need some sort of oil filter, and then you're going to need some oil, which I have a little bit of right there. We also have some more right here. We got some Castrol right there. You're also going to need an oil drain pan. Once you get all your tools assembled, and in this case it's going to be a 17mm wrench or ratchet. In this case I'm just going to use the wrench. You have a few options for getting underneath your bike. I like to just put a block underneath the kickstand because I don't really need that much height on it. Other options are lifting the bike with a motorcycle jack. Just make sure that you don't get it underneath the oil filter or the drain plug, which is on this one is over here, so that might pose a little bit of a problem for this specific one. Or you can use a rear stand and lift the back end up, and that'll give you an extra couple of inches underneath the engine. If you add to that a front stand, that's primarily sport bikes and things like that. Or if you have one of those cool Harbor Freight lifts, you can just roll the bike up onto there, lift the whole thing up, and then it's got a little trap door thing in the middle. I don't know what this is, but it's got a little trap door that'll sit underneath the engine, and you can change your oil that way. What you're gonna do is you can take your wrench. I like to use the closed end, and right there is our drain plug. So we're going to carefully slide this over onto the head of that bolt and turn it. And once you get it loose, you're going to slide your drain pan underneath it as best you can and reach your hand up underneath there. But you're just going to take it the rest of the way off. Now once it's off, it's going to start pouring oil, and it's going to be gross looking and black and nasty and dirty, and just let that drain for a little bit. Go ahead and have a beer, smoke a cigarette, whatever you do. I'm not saying you should if you don't, but if you do, go for it. Why not? You got a couple minutes, so take care of that. One thing that helps speed up the process a little bit is make sure that your fill cap is open. That allows air to escape through there and not try to force its way back up the drain plug. There's not a whole lot of oil in these things. I mean, they're little engines. They don't really need a whole lot. So once again, check your capacities on your manual. But I like to get every last drop of engine oil out of this thing that I possibly can. So I don't know if you can see that right there. You see that tiny little steady stream right there. When it starts dripping, I'll go until it's completely done dripping. I mean, I don't get paid by the hour here or anything, you know, so I don't really care. But I'll let it go till it's completely done dripping and there's no more drops coming out. Alright, so we've drained the engine oil. So we're going to take the plug and we're going to put it back. I like to do this before we continue on to the next step, just so that, well, for one, I don't want to forget it. And for two, if there is a couple little drops coming out still, I don't want to get them on the floor. I'm going to slide that over underneath the oil filter. And then we're going to remove the oil filter. Alright guys, so it's at this point that I realized that audio wasn't working. What I did here was took the oil filter off. I didn't have a wrench that would fit it, so what I needed to do was take that Phillips head screwdriver right there and this hammer and just kind of tap it through and use that as a handle. So what you're going to do next is take your new oil filter out and some clean oil, and you're going to coat the O-ring on the new filter. Just give it a nice light coat. It doesn't have to be super wet in there. Um, some people like to fill the oil filter before they install it. I'm not a huge fan of doing that, just because this thing sits basically horizontal on the bike, so most of it would spill out anyway. And then you just go ahead and spin it on. Make sure you do it hand tight though, because over time it will tighten and get kind of frozen on there. So you don't want to wrench on it too hard, because you do have to take it off. What you're going to want to do next is take your funnel, stick one end into your fill hole. You're going to grab your oil. Make sure you are using the right type of oil. I'm using 10W40 motorcycle oil from Valvoline. But what you're going to want to do then is fill it up to the recommended capacity. And right now I'd like to take a couple seconds here to thank a few people. Sleek It, FKR. I'm not sure if that's how that's supposed to be pronounced, but Marcia Santos, Courtney Leopardi, and Luca V. Hovar. I'm really sorry if I can't pronounce those names correctly, but those are the newest subscribers to the channel in the past couple of months. I know I'm kind of slacking off on this, but I just wanted to thank you guys for subscribing. And yeah, if you like what I'm doing here, if you want some more content, just go ahead and like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And see you next time. Thanks.